The restaurant smelled of fresh rosemary and warm bread. Ethan Carter sat nervously, fingers drumming the table, eyes darting toward the entrance every few seconds. He hadn't been on a date in nearly 6 years. Life as a single father had a way of burying romance beneath school lunches, bedtime stories, and bills. Tonight, however, his best friend Mark had set him up on a blind date. "She's sweet, funny, and you need this, man," Mark had said, grinning like he'd just pulled off a miracle. Ethan straightened his shirt again, his heart thudding louder than the soft jazz playing in the background. He checked his phone, 7 p.m. sharp. His date, Maya, was supposed to meet him at table 9. But table 9 was already taken by an elderly couple sharing a bottle of wine. He frowned. The hostess must have mixed something up. Spotting an empty table near the window, Ethan walked over and sat down, assuming this must be his spot. A few moments later, a woman approached, graceful, elegant, wheeling herself quietly in a sleek black wheelchair. Her dark hair framed her pale face, and her gray eyes were distant, unreadable. She stopped by his table, looking surprised. "Oh," she said softly. "You must be David." Ethan blinked. "Actually, Ethan, are you?" She gave a small, almost hesitant smile. "Not who you were expecting, I guess." He chuckled nervously. "You could say that, but since we're both apparently waiting for someone, maybe we can keep each other company until our dates show up." The woman tilted her head, studying him. Then, with a hint of amusement in her eyes, she nodded. "Why not? It's better than awkwardly pretending to check my phone for half an hour." As she maneuvered her chair closer, Ethan couldn't help but notice the quiet dignity in her movements, graceful, practiced, unbothered by curious glances. "I'm Emily," she said finally. "Ethan," he replied, extending a hand. She shook it firmly, her touch soft but confident. They ordered coffee, she, black with a hint of cinnamon, he, a latte with extra foam, and soon their conversation drifted from polite small talk to real stories. She told him she used to love hiking before an accident 3 years ago left her paralyzed from the waist down. Ethan shared how his wife passed away giving birth to their daughter, Lily, who was now 5 and obsessed with painting every wall in the house. For the first time in years, he laughed, genuinely laughed, as Emily teased him about his dad survival skills, and how every parent secretly uses cartoons as babysitters. Halfway through dessert, Ethan realized he hadn't checked his phone once. The thought startled him. He'd come expecting an awkward date with a stranger, but somehow, sitting across from this poised, quietly strong woman felt right. Then his phone buzzed. A text from Mark. "Greater than, dude, where are you? Maya's been waiting at table 12 for 20 minutes. Ethan's stomach dropped. Table 12, not table 9. He looked up at Emily, guilt spreading across his face. "Oh no, I think I sat at the wrong table." She blinked, then smiled faintly. "You're kidding. I wish I were." He showed her the text. "I was supposed to meet someone named Maya. I must have read the number wrong." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Emily let out a soft laugh, light and surprisingly warm. "Well, I guess fate doesn't always read the seating chart correctly." Ethan grinned sheepishly. "Guess not. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to crash your evening." She looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "Don't apologize. It's been a long time since I met someone who talked to me like a person, not a project, or a sympathy case." The words hit him like a quiet revelation. "Then I'm glad I made the mistake." Before he could say more, a tall man in a suit appeared beside them, his tone sharp. "Emily, your father's been looking for you. He didn't know you were here." Her eyes hardened slightly. "I told him I needed some time to myself, Andrew." The man, a bodyguard, from his posture, glanced at Ethan, measuring him. "And this is just someone who sat at the wrong table," Emily said calmly. The man frowned but didn't argue. "Your father's waiting outside." As he left, Ethan caught a flicker of emotion in her face, frustration, maybe sadness. "I guess that's my cue," she murmured. "Thank you for the company, Ethan. You made a very strange evening unexpectedly nice." He smiled. "The pleasure was mine." As she turned to leave, Ethan hesitated. "Emily, would you maybe like to grab coffee sometime? I mean, as friends." Her fingers froze on her chair's wheel. Then, slowly, she turned and gave him a small but genuine smile. "Maybe, if fate messes up the reservation again." And then she was gone. Ethan stood there for a long moment, feeling like he'd just stepped out of a dream. Later that night, as he walked through the door of his small house, Lily ran up to him in her pajamas, waving a paintbrush. "Daddy, look, I made you a rainbow." He scooped her up, laughing. "That's beautiful, sweetheart." As she giggled in his arms, his mind replayed Emily's quiet smile, her strength, the way she carried herself. He didn't know it yet, but the wrong table had just led him to the most unexpected right person of his life. A week passed, but Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Emily. He kept replaying their conversation, her wit, her honesty, the quiet resilience in her eyes. It wasn't romance, at least not yet, but something in her presence had awakened a part of him that had long been dormant. Life went on as usual. He woke up early, packed Lily's school lunch, and spent his days working as a construction project manager at Hartwell Enterprises, one of the largest real estate firms in the city. The company had recently been taken over by a new CEO, a ruthless businessman with a reputation for precision and zero tolerance for mistakes. Ethan had never met him personally. On Monday morning, he was called to the main office for an urgent meeting. His manager, Roger, seemed unusually tense. "The new CEO wants to review the upcoming community housing proposal himself," Roger muttered. "And he specifically asked for you to present it." Ethan frowned. "Me? Why? No idea. Just be sharp." The guy's intimidating as hell. An hour later, Ethan entered the sleek glass conference room on the top floor, clutching his notes. A dozen executives were already seated, whispering nervously. At the far end of the table sat a tall man in a gray suit, Richard Hartwell, the new CEO. His silver hair was combed back neatly, and his gaze was sharp enough to cut through steel. "Mr. Carter, correct?" Hartwell's voice carried authority that filled the room. "Yes, sir." Ethan nodded. "Please begin." Ethan launched into his presentation, outlining sustainable housing options and cost-efficient design strategies. He'd practiced this a dozen times, but halfway through, the door opened quietly, and a familiar voice said, "Sorry I'm late, Dad." Ethan froze. Emily rolled in, her chair gliding effortlessly across the marble floor. She wore a tailored cream blazer, her hair pulled back, confidence radiating from her like sunlight through storm clouds. Their eyes met, and for a moment, time stopped. "Emily," Hartwell said with a hint of sternness. "We're in the middle of a meeting." "I'm aware," she said smoothly. "You asked me to sit in on department reviews. I believe this qualifies." The executives glanced between them, clearly uneasy. Ethan swallowed hard, forcing himself to continue. But his thoughts tangled. Emily was the CEO's daughter. When the meeting ended, Hartwell nodded curtly. "Good work, Mr. Carter." "Emily, a word." Ethan packed up his papers, trying to leave quietly, but Emily's voice stopped him. "Actually, Dad, I'd like to speak with Mr. Carter too." Hartwell's brow furrowed. "For what purpose?" "Project Insight," she said simply, her tone leaving no room for argument. The CEO hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. 10 minutes." He exited the room, his bodyguards following close behind. As the door closed, silence lingered before Emily finally broke it. "I didn't expect to see you here," she said softly, a smile tugging at her lips. "Trust me, neither did I," Ethan replied, still half in disbelief. "You're Richard Hartwell's daughter." "Unfortunately, yes," she laughed quietly. "And you work for his company." "Project manager. Small world, huh?" "Smaller than it looks," she said. He couldn't help but smile. "So when you said your father was looking for you that night?" She sighed, eyes dropping briefly. "He doesn't like me going out alone. After the accident, he became overprotective. I understand it, but it can feel suffocating." Ethan nodded, understanding more than he said. "He's just scared of losing you." She looked up, her gaze softening. "You sound like you know what that's like." "I do," he said quietly. "My daughter's all I have. I'd probably do the same." For a few moments, neither spoke. Then Emily smiled again. "You did well in there, by the way. Dad doesn't compliment anyone, but if he didn't interrupt you, that's basically a standing ovation." Ethan chuckled. "Good to know. I'll add that to my resume." Before they parted ways, she said, "There's a charity event this Friday, Accessibility Housing Initiative. I'm heading it. You should come." "Me? I'm not really a gala kind of guy." "That's perfect," she said, grinning. "Neither am I, but we could both use a familiar face there." By Friday evening, Ethan found himself walking into a grand ballroom glittering with chandeliers and tuxedos. He felt out of place in his modest suit, but when he saw Emily across the room, laughing softly with a group of donors, all the unease faded. She looked radiant, Not because of her dress, but because of her confidence. The way she held herself commanded respect. As he approached, she turned and smiled. "You made it. Wouldn't miss it," he said. They talked for hours, slipping away from the formalities to share stories about childhood mischief, awkward school days, and the quiet fear of starting over. At one point, she admitted, "People look at me and see limits." "You didn't." Ethan met her gaze steadily. "I just saw a woman who made me forget I was supposed to meet someone else." Her laughter was soft, genuine, and full of life. But their quiet connection didn't go unnoticed. Across the room, Richard Hartwell observed them closely, his jaw tightening. Later, as Ethan stepped out for air, Hartwell approached him on the terrace. "Mr. Carter," he said, voice clipped. "You seem like a decent man. But my daughter has been through enough. I don't want her hurt again." Ethan nodded slowly. "I understand, sir. But I'm not here to hurt her." "Intentions are easy," Hartwell said coldly. "Life is not." He turned and walked away. Ethan watched him go, heart heavy. That night, as he returned home, he found a message from Emily waiting on his phone. Greater than, "Don't let him scare you away. Coffee tomorrow. My treat." He smiled, typing back. Greater than, "Wouldn't miss it. I'll sit at the wrong table again if I have to." Over the next few months, their friendship grew. Emily began visiting the housing sites, giving feedback on accessibility designs. Her insight made the projects more inclusive. Ramps, wider doorways, smart controls, things Ethan had never thought of before. Soon, their collaboration became the company's pride project, and Richard couldn't deny the results. But it wasn't just about work. Lily adored Emily. When she came over, the little girl would wheel herself around the living room on Emily's chair, giggling uncontrollably. Ethan would watch them, warmth swelling in his chest. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Emily turned to him and said, "You know, I used to think my life ended after the accident. But you and Lily, you made me realize it just started in a different direction." Ethan reached for her hand. "And maybe sitting at the wrong table was exactly what we both needed." She smiled through misty eyes. "Then let's never sit at the right one again." In that quiet moment, beneath the fading gold of sunset, the single dad and the CEO's daughter finally realized that fate doesn't make mistakes. It simply waits for the right people to stop running from them.